I scream, you scream, we all scream for some post-university softball here. It's a dreary day, but we're going to bring the sunshine to you here on the Nest Network. Mike Fesci joining you live for a couple of non-conference softball games post-university, taking on the College of St. Rose. About a minute or so from getting underway, Madison Caldwell is on the mound. We are getting these games in amidst the rain. It did rain for quite a while, and then as the day has worn on, it's slowly gotten lighter and lighter, and now finally it seems to have completely come to a halt, which is good because it was miserable only about an hour ago when we first got here. Wind is nice and calm today, which is also a nice thing because it's about 45 degrees with a wind chill of about 39. It's the middle of April, but it's New England, so it's what you'd expect. From left to right in the outfield, Sam Ricarduli, Carly Peruso, and Alyssa Calabrese. On the infield, it's Caitlin DeAngelis, Brooke Dickinson, Julia Maida, and Lily Tomasello. Behind the plate is Juliana Sakala. And on the mound, Madison Caldwell, as that first pitch is in there. I missed it because I was looking at the field. For a strike. Now Caldwell firing right away. 1-1 the count. Eagles coming into this one. It's their final doubleheader of a back-to-back-to-back. They started out on the road against Franklin Pierce. Played against the University of New Haven yesterday, which they got mercy 9-1 in 5 innings and then lost in Game 2 3-0. On the road at Franklin Pierce, they lost 7-2 in Game 2. Game 1, they got mercied also in 5 innings, 8-0. Caldwell fires. That one's lined on the ground by Fuda. And with the St. Rose Golden Knights at the plate, I'm going to pull out my roster sheet and make sure that I get the name's correct. Ellen Fuda is at the plate, the junior. In the leadoff spot. That pitch is high for a ball. Count moves to 2-2. Caldwell rocks and fires. Chopped on the ground towards Dickinson at short. Dickinson over to first to Tomasello. In time, 1 away. That's the first out of the inning and game. And I'll bring Kelsey Higgins to the plate, freshman outfielder. Much larger team for St. Rose than Post when you look at it. That one is just off the plate for a ball, 1-0. Eagles coming to this one 5-33 on the year. St. Rose 16-12. That one's towards the parking lot. Watch out to the soccer players getting ready to practice behind us. That one off one of the cars. Now they threw it back on the field. And we'll have to stop play because the player threw it onto the field of play. You can't do that. But we'll rack at it. You may have been able to see it. You really can't see it as well on the camera as we can see it, obviously, as that pitch is outside for a ball. But behind Dickinson at short, when they pulled the tarp off, there was a little bit of water that pooled up around where Dickinson actually is now. And they tried to brush it to the outfield turf, which it seems like they had chopped down the line by DeAngelis, but foul. So we'll see how that holds up. It looks like they did a good job of... We saw Lady Rivera and Nick Moose out there raking it. It looks like they did a good job of kind of getting rid of a lot of the water, but we'll see what happens as well as the game goes on, because if they do get a little bit more rain, which it's supposed to rain on and off throughout the afternoon, so again, we'll see how that kind of affects how things play out here. I feel a few sprinkles. And that one's hit towards us, but Calabrese right in front of me makes the grab. 2 down in the first inning. So Caldwell gets the first 2 outs. These two teams, interestingly enough, last year played here at Lemoyne Field. No, excuse me. I believe it was actually a road game. Yeah, it was on the road. They played on the road last year, and the final score was 23-11 because Post put up 13 runs in the 9th inning. It went to extra innings, and they put up 13 runs in the 9th inning to get that victory. Caldwell gets that one over there. It's swung on by Higgins, and it's fouled away. Excuse me, by Bland. Matty Bland, this sophomore infielder. Tony Karusik in his first year at St. Rose. Pat Blum, Zoe DuBois, and Brian Henning also assisting. Prusso makes that grab. Apologize for not getting it on camera. We're kind of doing double, triple duty up here with a little bit of a staff shortage today. So as I'm commentating, I'm also trying to do the camera as well. So a little bit of doubling up today. We are expecting a few people to come in and help us in a little while, thankfully, which will help ease the duties today. But as we get ready for the bottom of the first, Sam Ricarduli, Caitlin DeAngelis, Lily Tomasello, Juliana Sakala, Julia Maida, Melissa Calabrese, Bailey, then Brooke Dickinson, and Carly Prusso round out the order for your Eagles. On the mound, Aiden Sheeran, graduate pitcher from Spring, Texas. I'm going to double check that I have that name correct because I'm looking at our game program and I think I may have put a typo in there, but I want to just make sure. Adian. And so it is spelled correctly. It's Adian Sheeran is on the mound, the graduate pitcher. It looks like she's a righty. We'll be doing it today for the Golden Knights. Wind blowing a little bit from left to right now as I look at the flags, but we really don't feel it out here. We are under a tent today. First time we put up the tent this year out here. It's been almost too windy at times, but we've got sandbags as well to hold it down. But if for some reason it was to fly away and you flew onto the field, you'd get to see it in 4K on our cameras. So we're not hoping for that. Sam Ricarduli stepping in, the left fielder. Leading the way in average for Post for most of the year. And then on deck, DeAngelis. Ricarduli in the last home game got her 100th career hit. 50-year player from Yorktown, New York. Sheeran ready. Fires. Off the plate for a ball. 1-0. From left to right in the outfield, it's Muller, Baker, and Higgins. As Ricarduli swings that one to the fence. On the infield, it's from, again, left to right, Bland, Barriquez. I'll double-check that name on the pronunciation guide in between. Frazee, Chandler, and then Fuda behind the plate catching. That one's lined, a base hit into center field. Into left field. And Ricarduli's on with the single. Start this game off, or this half inning off. Barriquez, that's Abby Barriquez. That one's popped in the air to center. Coming on to grab that is Baker. She retires. DeAngelis, who just also got her 150th hit in the last home game. Lily Tomasello now comes to the plate. And here's a funny little story for you. Before the Chestnut Hill doubleheader, because we're in the outfield like you see right now, I said to Lily, I want a home run today. Lily told me, no, I'm hitting everything on the ground. In her first at-bat of Game 1, Lily hit a home run over the dead center field wall for a 2-run shot to put the Eagles up early in that one. And now she's going to pop that one up on the infield. And Sheeran drops it. But But she might still be able to get it out at second. She will, barely, because it was snow-coned at second by Barikis. Little weird sequence there. So Tomasello gets on a force out at second. Fielder's choice, that's how it goes down. And there's 2 outs for the cleanup hitter, Juliana Sakala. That one's fired in there, and it's in there for a strike, 0-1. The ball probably is a little wet if I had to guess, too, just because, again, the ground is very wet. The turf is wet. Everything out here is wet right now. And with that will bring a lot of opportunities, unfortunately, for errors and miscues the entire way, because really it's not to any fault of the fielders because of just how the conditions are. That one's fouled into the parking lot. No one's throwing this one back this time. It's rolled over to a car. 1-2 count to Sakala. High for a ball. Count goes even, 2-2. Eagles looking to see if they can get on the board first here. Runner on first, 2 outs. Bottom 1. Caldwell got the Golden Knights out 1-2-3 as that one's chopped off of Sakala. Foul. And we remain at 2-2. You actually see right there Sheeran trying to wipe the ball off because it is, again, it's very wet out right now. Sheeran deals in the dirt. It's going to be a wild pitch, and Tomasello is going to take second. So Lily Tomasello now in scoring position for Sakala. Chance for the early lead for Post. She's going to step back in and await this 2-2 pitch from Sheeran, who now might go down, honestly, as a pass ball. Yeah, now they're throwing the ball into the dugout, and they're asking for a new one. And we're probably going to see this a lot today because, again, it's wet out. Sheeran does actually have a towel in her back pocket as well, but much smaller than the ones they have in the dugout. Sakala grounds that one foul just outside of the first base line. Count remains 2-2. Should mention as well, this isn't a conference game, but in the CACC conference right now, Post has been eliminated from the possibility of making the tournament. With only 2 conference wins so far, the next closest already has 6, and they don't own the tiebreaker against that team as of right now. And they won't own the tiebreaker against them because they got swept by, I believe it's Holy Family that was in that 8-hole right now. So Sakala walks. Julia Maida, who again, if you heard me last time we had a home game that I was doing, Maida broke her thumb in warm-ups of game number 1 of the season, but she's played through it all. Big credit to her for that. Takes that pitch high, and it slips out of the glove of Fuda. No harm, no foul, though. Count is just 2-0. Again, still bottom 1. Eagles threatening here. Maida swings and fouls that one off. 2-1. And that's been a thing that we've seen this year from Post is runners in scoring position. They've had a lot of trouble scoring when they do it. And this is a 2-out situation, but in a lot of cases, especially in the last several games, it's come when there's only been less than 2 outs. And they haven't been able to figure out a way to get the runs home. See if they can get one home here. Tomasello, not the fastest runner on second, but something hit to the outfield could definitely score her. That pitch is outside for a ball. Now the bases are loaded as Maida walks down to first. I thought Sheeran got the entire plate on that one, to be perfectly honest, but hard to tell from my vantage point up here. Not sure what you saw on the stream from the angle that we have from the outfield to capture the footage of this one. Now a mound visit coming up here as the bases are loaded with 2 outs. And Alyssa Calabrese, who was actually my prediction to hit a home run today. I said it before we hopped on, that I feel like the freshman is going to get her first long ball of the season today. Wouldn't it be ironic if it came right here in the first inning with the bases loaded and could give Post a 4-0 lead at home? With, too, how these conditions are, we could be looking at a high-scoring affair. Again, it's going to boil down to how well these pitchers are able to grip the ball and how well the fielders are going to be able to field the ball in these conditions. Calabrese takes strike. Looked like it was just on the outside, off the plate, outside, but it's called a strike, 0-1 from Sheeran Cumming. In there for a strike, 0-2. Sheeran 1 strike away from getting out of the jam. Eagles, though, see if they have anything to say about that. Calabrese takes that pitch high for a ball, 1-2 the count. Wind's starting to pick up all of a sudden. Calabrese fouls that one right back into the fence. Count remains 1-2. More sandbags may be in the works if the wind picks up any more. We'll see. Calabrese takes that pitch high, and now it's even 2-2. Good job by her to battle back from an 0-2. Now she's in a 2-2 count. Chance to potentially get to a 3-2 right now. We'll see. Calabrese swings and misses, and that'll do it. So the Eagles load the base in the first. Don't get anything across after 1. Tied up at 0 here at Lemoyne. Back with the top of the second, Madison Caldwell retired the first 3 Golden Knights in the top of the first. Eagles loaded the bases with 2 outs in the bottom of the first, and then Sheeran came back to strike out Calabrese to end that frame if you're just joining us. And now we're here in the second. The wind's picked up a little. It's freezing, but we're having fun. And that pitch is outside for a ball, 1-0. Last non-conference home doubleheader for Post. If you haven't gone out to see the team yet this year, we have one more set of home games on Wednesday. That ball is hit foul on the ground. DeAngelis fields it. He gives it back to Caldwell. But catch us here at, I believe it's 2 o'clock, against Dominican on Wednesday afternoon. I don't know. We have a lot of games coming up this weekend, so the times kind of get lost in what team's doing what. But if you want to join us this weekend for a couple of senior days, Chestnut Hill, 11 o'clock a.m. against Post University Women's Lacrosse. And then on the flip side of that, we have the Eagles men's lacrosse team taking on Wilmington University in their game, and that's a big one for the Eagles, trying to maybe get up into that 2-3 slot. If they can get a win there, it's possible, but if they don't, it's not, especially because they don't own tiebreakers against any of the top teams right now in the conference. But that's neither here nor there. We are focused on softball, but that's what's coming up this weekend. That was fouled off, 0-2, still the count. The other games we have this weekend are men's tennis against Dominican on Sunday, as well as post-university baseball against Jefferson at home, starting at noon. Senior Day ceremony right before that. Caldwell ready, fires. That one's chopped on the ground towards DeAngela. She gets it, fires over to first. Tomasello with a nice scoop, and there's one away here. Now Marin Frazee to the plate. Doing a name check on that one as well myself. That one's off the plate for a ball, 0-1. Excuse me, 1-0. Looks like it is pronounced just how it sounds, Frazee. I also apologize, it's Ellen Fuda, not Fuda. Learning as we go. Caldwell fires in there for a strike. Count moves to 1-2. And tied for a ball. One down here already in the second inning. We got started right at 2 o'clock. Rained most of the morning, but it's finally stopped for now, we hope. Frazee takes that pitch outside for a ball. And now we're full, 3-2. Caldwell ready. Rocks, delivers, and the ball goes backwards. I mean, you kind of just have to laugh at that. It's no fault of hers. Again, the ball is so slippery right now that we are bound to see stuff like that today, and that's just one of those examples right there, folks, of it's nobody's fault. It's just it's wet conditions out here. I've personally never seen it before, but that ball went all the way back towards the outfield. So Frazee walks in a very unorthodox way. I've never I've never seen that, but Frazee walks in an unusual way. Ball slips out of Caldwell's hands. And now, with a runner on first, she'll face Alexandra Dieter. And it's a 1-1 count already. Caldwell does not have a towel in her back pocket like Sheeran does for St. Rose. But she's using the rosin. As that one's chopped on the ground, foul. DeAngelis just under her glove and into the outfield. So 1-2 count. Caldwell fires, and that one's lifted in the air to left. It's going to be over the head of Rick Ardulio, off the wall. She fires in quickly into third, standing up. Was that walking Frazee? Into second, standing up is Dieter, and St. Rose in business now with second and third and only one out. So we got to keep an eye out on how this goes down, because so one out walk to Frazee now has her at third. Still only one out. Bottom of the lineup up. This is Baker, Caitlin Baker, the center fielder up. She almost looked like she was ready to bunt here, and that would be an interesting decision, but I also wouldn't be surprised, because if Teams have done their scouting reports on the Eagles. They have struggled at times fielding bunts cleanly and being able to get the out at first or retire anybody, in some cases committing an error, as it is going to be bunted. Nice play by DeAngelis, but she just holds on. I don't know if she was trying to look the runner back to third more so than worrying about the play at first, but I also couldn't see because I was watching the bunt. I couldn't see if Maida got over to cover in time for it to be a worthwhile throw, because you don't want to throw it early as Maida's still coming to the base, because if you do that, you run the risk of throwing into the outfield if Maida can't get into position. However, this doesn't really hurt the Eagles because now the bases are loaded. It actually gives you a play at any base. So if a little chopper on the infield is hit to somebody, they can throw it home for the easy out at home. Sakala would just have to step on the plate rather than try and get the tag, as Barikis is at the dish. Abby Barikis chops that off herself, and the count now moves to 1-2. Winds have died down here as the inning's gone on, thankfully. One, two. Just off the plate for a ball. I thought that was over the dish, but home plate umpire disagreed. Again, from this angle, because we're not dead on, it looks like a strike, but can't really see where in the plate it's going, as that one's going to be hit in the air foul. Count remains 1-2. It's a very interesting thing you actually notice if you watch Caitlin DeAngelis play over there at third, is she always is hustling after every ball, no matter if it's fair or foul. She's always going after it. Two count. Popped in the air. That's going to stay on the infield, so I believe that's an infield fly roll. It is. Brooke Dickinson gets the out. 2 away. So really good play by Caldwell there. Really good pitch selection by Caldwell there to get a little hit on the infield that keeps the runners at bay, because, with the hopes of a sacrifice fly now down the drain, it needs to be a hit for St. Rose. And now they're in the similar situation that the Eagles were in the top of the first inning. Bases loaded, 2 outs. Madison Muller at the dish, seeing if she can drive in somebody. Called those pitches outside for a ball. Count quickly, 2-0. 2 hits so far for St. Rose, only 1 for Post. Hitting has been at a premium for Post at times this year offensively. They've struggled to string together hits. That one's on the ground. Dickinson just under her glove into center field. That's going to score at least 2. Over at third, DeAngelis goes for the tag. No one's making a call at third. Now they make a call at third. The runner is safe. So on the throw in, Muller gets into second. Going to third is Barikis. 2-run score on the RBI single by Muller, and St. Rose has taken a 2-0 lead. A little bit of a delayed call there by the base umpire. Dickinson, really nothing she could do about that one. It was over to, I'm facing away from the field to make sure I get my lefts and rights correct. To her right, just a hard play to make. To her left. One-0 count. Chopped back towards Maida. Maida over to first. Low throw, but Tomasello gets it. Inside is retired, but not before. St. Rose scrapes across 2 runs on 2 hits, 2 left on base. After 1.5 innings of play, 2-0 St. Rose. The Dickinson sisters coming up to hit in the bottom of the second, then Carly Peruso after that. Bottom third of the lineup coming up for Post, and they got some work to do. They currently trail by 2 runs after the RBI single by Madison Muller in the top half of the inning with the bases loaded. The Eagles had the bases loaded in the first inning, could not cash in. See if they can get something started here against Sheeran in the second. First pitch taken outside for a ball. That one's outside for a ball, 2-0. And the interesting thing about that last inning and how it unfolded was with 1 out, with that 3-2 count from Caldwell. We'll get to it in a moment after this pitch from Sheeran. High for ball, 3-0. The interesting thing about that is 3-2 count, Caldwell, obviously the ball is slippery. It slipped out of our hands and went back towards the shortstop, so it automatically was a ball. And the runner got to first on a walk. That one's in there for a strike, 3-1. If Caldwell's able to get the strikeout there, it does change the whole complexity of the inning because Muller never comes up and has a chance at that 2-run single. Shot foul, count quickly now back to 3-2. Again, though, no fault of Caldwell's. It is slippery and wet and disgusting out here right now. But it's little things you think about, too, as the game wears on. But again, not her fault at all. Sheeran throws that ball into the dugout to get cleaned off by the St. Rose bench. 3-2 count. Sheeran battled back after being behind 3-0. And that one's on the ground to second. Firing over to first is Frazee for the first out of the inning. One away for Brooke Dickinson. That was just Bailey Dickinson at the dish. Apologies if I mixed up the names and went back and forth. So Brooke Dickinson at the dish. Shortstop on that Muller single just got under her glove, but it was a long way for her to run to try and snag that one from going up the middle. 1-0 count in there for a strike, 1-1. Sheeran deals. Fouled off to the left. Just in between all the cars. We're near the end of days here on the spring season at Post. Not the end of time. But after this next week, nothing else at home. That one's in there for a strike, 3. Dickinson down looking, and Carly Peruso will come to the dish. After Wednesday, no more home games for Post Spring Athletics. So softball will round out our home slate. And the reason being is because Post Baseball was supposed to play Bloomfield on next Saturday in the final home games of the spring regular season. But due to Bloomfield's team being unable to continue their season due to injuries and a player shortage, those games go down as essentially forfeits and will not be played. So Wednesday, the final day of home games here at Post. However, that one's in there for a strike to Peruso. With women's lacrosse and softball already eliminated from playoff contention, men's lacrosse is pretty much locked in. It's not for certain yet, but it's almost a guarantee that they'll be able to get in. But we still have to wait and see how things play out. They're not in line for a home game yet. They could get a home game, but there's still a lot to be decided there. Baseball, we're hosting the CACC tournament. Whether Post is in it or not, we'll broadcast those games for you over at Municipal later on in May. However, depending on how Post finishes, because they do look like they're in line to make the postseason tournament. They finish first, we won't see you until that second week in May. If they finish second or third, we'll see you in the first weekend of May. Peruso pops that one up, foul. It's caught by Fuda, and side retired. So the Eagles unable to get anything on base, anything across after 2 innings of play. St. Rose 2, Eagles nothing. Back here in the top of the third, and that one is lined on the ground for a base hit. So, wow, I just came back, and that's going to be 2 bases, actually, for, trying to get my bearings on my screen here, Higgins. And right away, St. Rose in business. Matty Bland now to the dish. Runner on second, nobody out to start the third inning. Just 2-0 St. Rose right now. In there for a strike, 0-1. It is currently 43 degrees and cloudy here from Lemoy Field. That one's chopped on the ground, and it looks like it got knocked down by Caldwell. Couldn't tell. Maida over to first, out-recorded. Higgins advances the third, so 1 out. Chance at a sacrifice play now to score that run. Madison Chandler at the dish. Caldwell fires. That one's on the ground to Dickinson at short, and she bobbles it. And again, that's probably going to go down as an error if I had to guess. We'll wait and see. Yeah, that will go down as an error to Dickinson at short, Brooke Dickinson. Runners on the corners now. So again, no harm, no foul. Now you have the double play set up. But again, you really cannot fault her for that. The ground's wet. The ball is wet. This one's chopped on the ground through the hole, and that's going to end up being a base hit. So a run's going to score and make it 3-0. As the wind's picked up, it's starting to mist again, and I'm going to apologize now if if I'm unable to keep up with who exactly is at the dish or their stats for the game, because we have laptops open, but with the way the wind is blowing, it's blowing kind of in, and if it's raining, it's getting the equipment wet. So I have to protect the equipment as well as myself in this scenario. Quick mound visit between Caldwell and Sakala. It's 3-0 St. Rose after that RBI single by Frazee. And it's first and second still with only 1 out. Game 1, so we still got another game coming after this. Unless the conditions drastically change and don't allow it. That one's in there for a strike. To Dieter, the designated player. She's 1 for 1, scored once on the Muller single. That one's lined into center field. Prusso unable to grab it. That's going to score at least 2 runs as Prusso fires in, and that's a 2-run double for Dieter. Dieter doubles up the Eagles, and now it is 5-0 St. Rose here in the top of the third. And as we approach that number, I don't like to talk about it. Obviously, who likes to talk about it, whether it is for or against your team. But it is important to note that as that one's flown foul, oh man, Sam Ricardulli runs into the shot clock that we use for lacrosse, trying to get that one in foul territory. It is important to note for all you viewers at home, because I don't want to surprise you later on, but if the score were to be 8 runs in favor of either St. Rose or Post University, the game would end after 5 innings. After 5 innings, if a team leads by 8 runs in softball, it goes down as a mercy rule. We're not there yet, but just wanted to bring it up now in case it did come to fruition later on in this game, either for St. Rose or should Post put together a few big innings. It's just important that the viewers at home who may not be familiar with the rules of softball at the collegiate level know it now. Caldwell delivers that one high for a ball. Count moves to 1-1 against Baker, who is 1 for 1 with a hit in today's game. That one's in there for a strike, and the count quickly 1-2. No games tomorrow. Lot this weekend coming up for all of Post Athletics. We'll have the 2 lacrosse games for you here at home. That one's off to play for Caldwell, 2-2. Busy weekend of sports here, but again, after today, we take a day off, and then we take another day off on Monday. But starting Saturday, for the next 5 days, Post University in action with some form of games. Each spring team has one more home game remaining of some sorts of teams that we are broadcasting, I should say. We've been unable to broadcast men's tennis this spring, unfortunately, just due to the amount of games we've had going on elsewhere at the same time as a lot of those. It's made it impossible for us to be able to get the necessary equipment over to a men's tennis match, and unfortunately won't be able to bring those to you live either on Sunday or Tuesday due to the overlapping with baseball and women's lacrosse on those days. That one is high for ball 4, and walking down to first is Baker. So after that first inning for Caldwell, where she retired the side 1-2-3 and then got the first out of the second, the wheels starting to fall off a little bit for the senior right-hander in the third inning especially. That one's chopped back to Caldwell. She fires over to third to get the force, and that's all they'll get. So Caldwell helping her own cause there for the second out. And now because of that, every other run will be unearned this inning because of the Dickinson error at short. So if, let's say, a 3-run home run was hit right now by Muller, all 3 runs would not be charged to Caldwell because it should have already been the third out of the inning. That ball is outside. Muller had that RBI single, 2 runs scored in the last inning. Weird sequence of events last inning helped St. Rose get those 2 runs, like we've mentioned a couple times. That one is... Looks like they're actually called... Wow, okay, so they called her for a check swing on that. I did not think that Muller went at all on that, or at least from this angle. And it's a 1-1 count, top third, 2 outs, 2 on. Caldwell fires low and in the dirt for ball 2. St. Rose so far 6 hits, 5 runs, 1 hit for the Eagles, and 1 error. It was the leadoff hit by Rickard Dooley that looked to get the Eagles in business in inning number 1, but they were unable to get anything across after loading the bases with 2 outs. That one's flown into shallow center field. That's going to dunk in for a base hit. Perusa's going to fire to third to try and get the out there. She does. So Carly Peruso retires Barikis at third. We'll see if the run counts because the run was coming home to score. Waiting on that. It looks like they're going to say the run didn't score. So that's how the inning will end. So a nice play by Peruso saves a run. So it's 5-0 as we head to the bottom of the third. Eagles looking to do some damage. So it was what I thought as we come back here in the bottom of the third. That run did cross home plate before Peruso got the out at third to DeAngelis. So it is 6-0 St. Rose. And again, like I mentioned, 8 runs is the mercy rule. So Post needs to get to work here. Because if St. Rose is able to get 2 more before the 5th and then retire the Eagles in the 5th, it would go down as a mercy rule in game number 1. The Eagles were shut out yesterday in game number 2 against New Haven. It was their 13th shutout of the season, which is the new program record. Unfortunately, you don't want to have to bring up those stats, but that is what it is Rickard Dooley is going to fly out to left for out number 1. So 13 shutouts this year. Post hasn't been able to score in 13 games, and that is the new program record, surpassing the 2013 team, which had 12 shutouts. But the Eagles trying to end their season on a high note, and they have these games, which today are very winnable. These should be competitive. However, they have a tough task on Saturday. I mean, Wilmington is number 21st in the nation. It is conference. Then they have a doubleheader against St. Thomas Aquinas on the road on Tuesday, and then Wednesday we'll see here to finish out the season because, like we mentioned, softball already eliminated from playoff contention. So softball's final game will be on Wednesday afternoon here against Dominican, and they'll try to send their outgoing seniors out on a high note, their seniors and grad students, on a high note with a few wins at Lemoy Field one last time this year on Wednesday. Sheeran delivers. That one's lined into left. It's a base hit. Wow, that one skipped up high on Muller. And over on first is DeAngelis with her first hit of the game. And Lily Tomasello now coming to the plate. Tomasello 2 home runs away from tying the program record for most in a single season. The record currently stands at 9 in a single season. She is at 7 right now, and she's had the power at home. So we'll see if she can do it here today. Get 1, maybe 2 more. Running out of games to get 1, obviously. Get to that record. Caitlin DeAngelis right now at 17 career home runs. I believe if my brain remembers correctly. Never mind, as Tomasello lifts that one deep in the air to the warning track and at the wall. I apologize for not being able to get that one on camera as I was looking at the ball in the air. In center, though, Baker makes the catch right before the warning track. Tomasello almost took that one yard for her 8th. But as I was mentioning home runs, DeAngelis at 17 in her career, if my brain remembers correctly, is 1 behind being 3rd all time for most home runs in post-university history. So Sheeran nearly avoids losing what she's got so far in terms of a shutout on Tomasello's big booming out to deep center field. Any other part of the park, that's probably out of here. But she hit it to dead, like literally the deepest part of the ballpark over at the 40-yard line. Apologies again for not being able to fully get it on camera. I thought I had turned it more, but was trying to watch the ball fly as well. And Jules Sakala at the plate grounds that one over to second, and that's going to get through the wickets of Frazee. Moving from first to third is DeAngelis, and now runners on the corners for post for Julia Maida. Eagles looking to strike back after a big 4-run top of the 3rd for St. Rose that has them up 6-0 right now. Sheeran fires, and Maida lifts that one up towards us, but that's going to be too shallow for anything, and that's going to be retired by the left fielder in Muller for the final out of the inning. So post threatens Tomasello, big fly deep to center. No one gets across though. 6-0. We head to the 4th. Back here, top of the 4th. Posts, trailing 6-0, have threatened in two of the three innings that they've been on offense. They have threatened and just haven't been able to get anything across. Caldwell fires, line right at Maida at second for the out. We didn't even have to change cameras for that one. Maida was right in the line of the camera. And she retires the first batter of the inning. Caldwell looking to work a quick inning here. We want Post to get some runs. We want some quick innings as well, though, because it is chilly out here. So the quicker that we can get out of the cold, the better. But we also want to see some Post wins. I was up here before the game and cheering down at the girls, telling them to get a couple today after I said the first win of the day was getting the tarp off the field. Now let's get 2 more. And Carly Peruso, who just fielded that ground ball, said, "This isn't a win, Mike." But teamwork makes the dream work is how I put it, as the entire team was out there getting the tarp off the field so we could play some softball today. We've only had one really gorgeous softball game this spring. It was 75, and we all got sunburned. Caldwell fires, and that one is outside for a ball. 1-0 the count to Bland. This is a big half inning again. If St. Rose scrapes across 2 more, the Eagles are going to have to figure out how to get some runs across against Shearer. And in the final, would be then technically 6 outs because of the threat of a mercy rule then looming over their head. But we're still at a 6-0 game. Eagles, though, need to essentially hold the Golden Knights off the scoreboard. They cannot afford to keep allowing runs at this rate without getting any across themselves on offense. 3-1 count from Caldwell. Runner on first. 1 out in the inning. As I feel a few raindrops and wind starting to make their way over here. 3-1 count. Caldwell fires that one in the dirt, and it's going to be a walk issued to Bland, and now the cleanup hitter and Chandler at the dish with 2 on and only 1 out. So Madison Chandler to the dish. She's 0 for 2. She scored once. She reached on that error by Dickinson, which also did help spur across a few runs. It's just been a wacky game in terms of that. So, again, because we mentioned how wet the field is, the dirt is probably a little drier than the turf is in the outfield because the turf kind of is just naturally taking the water. As that one's hitting the air towards us, Peruso gets over there, makes the grab. Runners have to hold at first and second as Peruso threw that one nicely into third. But it's been a weird sequence that has allowed these runs to score for St. Rose. Again, Caldwell lost the grip on the ball because it's wet, and that allowed a walk with 1 out, which at the time seemed harmless. But then once you get to that 2-out scenario with the bases loaded, that could have potentially been the final out of the inning, depending on what that 3-2 pitch actually entailed. Again, it could have been a walk either way. But it's one of those what ifs. And then last inning with Dickinson's error on the ground ball to her helped extend the inning a little bit longer for the Golden Knights, who scraped across 4 runs. That was lined towards us in the air. Not sure if you can see it. Yeah, I turned the camera a little bit too much there. Calabrese fires in, but that's not going to be there in time. Run scores 7-0, and now runners on the corners, as that is going to be an RBI single for Frazee. St. Rose now leads 7-0. So the bats for St. Rose come into play in game number 1 so far. The Eagles, while they've had their opportunities, they've left 5 on base in the course of their 3 innings of offense so far. Just not able to get anything across. They went down easily in the second, but in the first and third, it was bases loaded with 2 outs. And in the last half inning, it was 2 on with 2 outs, as there are sprinkles starting to fall from the sky. And I'm not talking about the candy. That's outside for a ball. 3-0 now. It's going to have to be a good pitch if Caldwell wants to try and extend this at bat against Dieter. And she gets that good pitch on that inside corner, and count stays 3-1 now. Frazee and Dieter are both 2 for 2 today. Frazee walked in that weird sequence in the second. That one's hitting the air foul. Is Tomasello going to have enough room to grab it? She will. Lily Tomasello makes the grab, and that will end the inning. But not before St. Rose scrapes across another. 7-0. Post needs to get some things going here in the bottom of the 4th inning. They trail 7-0. Alyssa Calabrese to the plate. Can the freshman start a little bit of a rally for Post? You don't need all 7 runs right here. You do need a few runs, though, and start to chip away at this lead, because the longer you wait, the harder it's going to become to get yourself back into this game, as that one is fouled off to the left. 0-1 the count. I think I see our reinforcements coming to my left. I see three women's soccer players coming. I don't know if they're here to help us out with stuff. That one's chopped foul, 0-2. We'll find out momentarily. 0-2 count to Calabrese. She struck out in her first at bat with the bases loaded. It was the chance for the Eagles to potentially get a few runs. 0-2. High for a ball, 1-2. Looks like, as I'm looking at the stats, too, there's a new catcher as well, Babcock. As Calabrese swings and misses, Mackenzie Babcock, the freshman, is now behind the plate doing the catching for Fuda in the bottom of the 4th inning. Bailey Dickinson now at the plate. 1 away. Again, the Eagles need to try and do something. If St. Rose is able to cross one more in the top of the 5th, we're looking at a possible mercy roll here in the 5th. So Eagles, if they want to stay in this, need to try and manufacture some runs. They haven't been able to stop St. Rose the last 3 innings. Dickinson takes that one outside for a ball. Count moves to 1-1. Sheeran's pitch count only at 43 coming to the at-bat. This will be pitch number 46. Chopped on the ground towards short. It's fielded, and firing over to first to get the out is Barikis. 2 down for Brooke Dickinson now. All the hits for the Eagles have come from their top 4 hitters. The bottom half of the order has not produced anything yet. Here's their opportunity to potentially do so right now. First pitch is low and in the dirt for a ball, 1-0. Behind us right now, the men's soccer team is practicing. They're getting ready for the Connecticut Cup this Sunday down against Sacred Heart. I believe if I heard head coach Ted Haley correctly when he came into the office yesterday, it is the championship game. That'll be at 4 o'clock if anybody wants to go down and watch that on Sacred Heart's campus. Dickinson takes that one foul. Count moves to 1-2. One ball, 2 strikes. Eagles trail by 7. Sheeran gets that one to be chopped on the ground to short, and firing over to first for the out is Brykius. Eagles go down in order, still trailing 7-0. We head to the 5th. The Eagles have to hold St. Rose off the scoreboard, or else it's last ups for them in the bottom of the 5th. Top of the 5th now. First pitch is in there for a strike to Baker. Baker's 1 for 1 on the day with a walk and a run scored. Again, Eagles have to hold St. Rose off the scoreboard here, because if they score one more, then they're at risk of being last ups in the bottom of the 5th, because the 8-run mercy rule after 5 comes into play. Caldwell ahead of the count 0-1 to start this at-bat. Chilly afternoon here at Lamoille Field. On tie for a ball. 1-1. I might have to do a tier list at the end of the year of the best weather and the worst weather games that we've had out here at Lamoille Field. There's been several bad ones. There's been a few good ones in the fall. And it quickly turned from late summer to feeling like late fall on campus. And it really has never become spring yet this April, other than a couple 60-degree days. But unfortunately, those have all fallen on days where we don't have games, as Caldwell gets the strikeout for the first out of the 5th. It was in the 60s earlier in the week, but we didn't have games those days. And then yesterday we had home women's lacrosse, and it was in the mid-40s. That one's popped in the air in foul territory. Sakala makes the grab just before hitting the fence. 2 down. So Caldwell doing what she's got to do to keep the Eagles alive in this game, because, again, 1 run puts them at risk of having to get a run or have the game be over. So 2 down. Muller at the dish. After her, it'll be Babcock, I believe. Yeah, that's Babcock on deck. Mackenzie Babcock, who replaced Fuda at catcher in the last half inning. One's outside for a ball. If you're just joining us, 7-0 St. Rose. They got runs in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th inning. A little bit of a wacky sequence in all those innings just because of the wet conditions today. And if you're just joining us, make sure to stay tuned, because we got another game after this. That one's going to be chopped on the ground to DeAngelis at 3rd. Over to first, Tomasello. Nice acrobatic play And she was pulled out the base, but she gets the tag. Side retired. So the Eagles still have life in this one. They'll get to play a 6 no matter what. 5-0 Post. 7-0 St. Rose. Eagles coming to bat in the bottom of the 5th right after this. Bottom of the 5th. I should have noted as well. I mean, it is possible you could get a mercy rule the other way, too. Post would have to score 15 runs in this inning. Not out of the realm of possibility, because we did mention at the top of the broadcast, they did score 13 runs in an inning against St. Rose last year. So it's not impossible. It's just highly unlikely, you could say. That one's chopped over to third, Bland over to first, gets the out, 1 away. Sheeran has really settled in these last couple of innings after running into some trouble in the first and third. I'm listening to the PA on the infield, and I think I've heard about 3 different voices now getting in on the action. It may be cold out, but we're all trying to keep our hearts nice and warm with laughter and fun. That pitch was in their first strike to Rick Cardulli, who's the leadoff hitter for Posts. And that one's also in their first strike, so she's quickly down the count 0-2. I can see the outfielders jumping around, too. They're probably just as cold as we are. 0-2. Swung on and hit in the center field by Rick Cardulli, but right there to grab it is Baker, 2 down. And that will bring up Caitlin DeAngelis, who had a hit in her last at bat. It was a single. She'll see if she can start something for the Eagles here in the 5th with 2 outs. And she'll line that one just foul down the left field line. 0-1. Sheeran getting another ball change. They're wiping it off in the St. Rose dugout now. It's outside for ball 1-1. DeAngelis takes ball 2 outside, 2-1. Again, 7-0 St. Rose. 2 outs here in the bottom of the 5th. This is the only game going on today for Post as well. No other teams in action. Women's tennis has a match down at New Haven. They're out of season. DeAngelis lofts that one to the center field off the top of the wall. It's going to be good for at least a double. DeAngelis going to dig in a second safely. I mean, her and Lily Tomasello have both narrowly missed home runs, and it's only because they hit it to the deepest part of the ballpark. That one was right under the yellow markers. I mean, it needed like another foot to go out. That's how close that one was. So Sheeran's been bailed out a couple times by the deepest part of the wall, which I don't even know how deep the dimensions are here, but I'm gonna go like 200 maybe. Anyways, as I mentioned, Tomasello, she's at the dish looking for maybe her 8th home run of the year. She almost had it in her last at bat, but it was caught right at the warning. Well, the the 40-yard line. We don't have a real warning track here to say that it was on the warning track, but it was pretty much what you would consider the warning track, around where the 40-yard line is in dead center. But she's quickly in a 1-1 count here against Sheeran. Can she solve her on this one and post some runs? That one's in their first strike, 1-2. St. Rose, 16-12 on the year. They were 12-31 last year and 4-20 in conference. Tomasello, yeah, that's a no-doubter. See you later. 8th home run of the season for Lily Tomasello. And the Eagles are back in this game. It's now 7-2 as Tomasello with a big blast to left field. That one was a no-doubter right off the bat. That's what the Eagles needed after DeAngelis narrowly missed one, and Tomasello narrowly missed one earlier in this game. Lily T goes deep to left, and now she is 1 home run away from tying the single-season record of 9, and she has game 2 to do it. And maybe one more at bat in this game, depending on how things shape up. Juliana Sakala to the plate. That one's in there for a strike. She's 1 for 1 on the day. So again, I mentioned it earlier. The top of the lineup is the ones producing right now for post. After Sakala, the rest of this Eagles team is 0 for on the day with a walk. Maida, 0 for 1 with a walk. Everybody else 0 for 2. So the Eagles as a team 0 for 9 after their top 4 hitters. Maida chops that one on the ground. It's going to be corralled there at short by Barikis, but then it's going to be a low throw. Sakala would have been out on the throw, but also Barikis had to go into the splits to get that, so I think that'll go down as a hit. We'll see in a moment. Our official scorer, Kristen Brown, is on the infield, so I can't get it officially from her. I'm waiting for it to come on the board. I think she's deciding currently what it should go down as. Is that one's outside for a ball? Yeah, that's going to go down as a throwing error. So it was fielded cleanly, and then Barikis fell into the splits. But I will note, too, and this makes sense why the ruling was an error, too, is that the other thing you sometimes have to look at when it's a tough play like that is the speed on the bases. And Sakala wasn't close to being safe on that. She was probably out by 3-4 steps on a good throw. So the call to rule that an error makes a lot of sense because you do actually have to take into account the speed on the base path that's there and where they are on the base path when they get that ball. That one's outside for a ball. It counts 2-2. Hearing some sirens or dogs, I'm not really sure. Maida lofts that one into center field. That's going to be caught by Baker. Ends the inning, but Lily Tomasello gets the Eagles back with 2 runs. 7-2. We head to the 6th. We're back here. Sierra Tarantino was just challenging me to play wingback in soccer, and I was saying challenge accepted. That one's on the ground. Challenge accepted for Julia Maida over at second on that ground ball by Babcock, and there's one away. What a nice segue into the first out of the inning in the sixth. Madison Caldwell has found her groove here in the last inning and a half. But the Eagles have more work to do. They chipped away in that last half inning and have made it a more tight game. And why those 2 runs were so important is because, again, they were on the cusp of being in mercy rule territory. So now that it's 7-2, that one's lined on the ground, foul. Now that they're out of that range, you have a little bit more to work with, and you don't have to be so, tight about what's coming up. Chance here for Caldwell, though, to get a 1-2-3 inning, and maybe momentum can keep going for the Eagles, but the problem is if they want to get that momentum, the bottom of the lineup has to start producing. They are 0 for on the day after the top 4, like I mentioned in the last half inning. So if they're going to get into this game and continue to work their way back, it's going to have to be the Alyssa Calabrese's, the Dickinson sisters, and Carly Peruso to start that rally in the next half inning, because they need 5 runs, but only their top 4 hitters have gotten hits so far in this game. Caldwell delivers that one low for a ball. Count 2-2. That one's lined on the ground right by Brooke Dickinson, and that's going to be to the wall. Peruso's going to pick it up. Digging for second with 2 is Higgins. And St. Rose now trying to answer back. It's Maddie Bland comes to the dish. 10 hits now for St. Rose, only 5 for Post. Caldwell delivers outside for a ball. Maddie Bland is 0 for 2. Higgins, after that hit, now 3 for 4 with 2 runs scored. It's been the bottom. It's funny. I talk about how the top of the Eagles lineup is the ones producing right now for Post. It's the opposite for St. Rose. Outside of Higgins, everybody at the bottom is producing for the Golden Knights, as that one squirts by Sakala at catcher, and count goes to 1-1. Two and one, and that one is in there for a strike, and I think the ump was just about to ring her up, but it was only strike 2. Two swung on and fouled off. It's so cold that Sierra's fingers are turning white next to me, and Hannah Marriott's doing CPR on her pinky finger. Coach Delfino or Topali, if you're listening, Sierra's being worked on by our medical staff up here so that she's ready for women's soccer spring match tomorrow against Stack at home at Lemoy. And then the Chestnut Hill College women's lacrosse game on Saturday. That one is hit in the air to left field. Rickard Dooley going back over her head, and she knocks down the fence. And she can't get the ball. In the third with a stand-up triple is Bland. And she looks like she's shaken up. She took a hard hit on that. Everything kind of just fell off of the fence. I think she might have... I can't see where she hit, but it looks like she's holding her elbow, which would make the most sense because where she hit where like 2 of the sections kind of across. And so she probably banged her elbow right on one of those intersections, which is a post, rather than hitting herself on the cage part. The athletic trainers are out there just checking on Ricardula. I think she's going to be fine and she's going to stay in the game. I think it's more of just like, honestly, if anything, if she did hit her elbow, maybe you hit that funny bone. I've done that before where you just kind of lose all feeling in your arm. It's not a fun experience. Yeah, it looks like she's fine. It looks like it just hit her elbow. She's laughing with the trainers and head coach Julie Meyer, who's out there. So we've had some very weird things happen today. So first we had Madison Caldwell throw a pitch to the shortstop. And then we just had Ricardula nearly knock down the entire outfield fence, which, by the way, is held down by sandbags out there. So we initially kind of chuckled about it, and then once you realize that, the player might be injured, you kind of have to realize that, and now everybody's kind of having a laugh about it on the outfield. And you see Sam out there, she's shaking her arm. And Alyssa and Carly, her two teammates out here, Calabrese and Peruso, are also laughing about it as they get set to restart things here. So that actually is just going to go down as a double, as I see they place the runner back at second. I guess because she ran into the fence and everything fell off of it, because she couldn't get to the ball, it's considered like in the MLB, where if the ball goes underneath the wall or something like that and the fielder can't easily retrieve it, it's only two bases and you have to stop the play right there. I believe that might have been why they put her back at second, if I had to guess. So almost in a way, heads up play by Ricardula, because she couldn't make the catch to crash into the wall and save the runner from being at third, even though that was obviously not the intention. 8-2 St. Rose. 1 out. 1-1 count. It's fouled off by Smith. The pinch hitter, Smith. Hannah Smith, sophomore infielder from Clifton Park, New York. That one just outside for a ball. Count moves even to 2-2. Again, after this game ends, we'll go and try and warm up, hopefully, somehow, maybe, and then we'll have game 2 for you. About 30 minutes after from the time game 1 ends, as ball was in the dirt and skipped away from Sakala. She picked it up, fired to DeAngelis at third because over there running was Bland, and it was a weird play because everybody was celebrating on the post infield that it was an out, but then the base umpire ruled Bland safe at third. Now they're going to talk it over, and we'll see what happens here. And while we're waiting here, a shout out to the 3 people watching on YouTube right now. And I'm sure there's countless others watching through the CACC network, but we're streaming simultaneously on both. So shout out to you, 3. Drop a comment in the chat if you want to. If you have any questions about your post-university softball team or athletics, drop it in the YouTube chat. We'll try and get to it on the broadcast because I can see the screen right here, right now. As the umpires are just talking about it now, the base umpire talking about it with the head coach of the Golden Knights, and now the umpire is going to confer again. As we continue to wait here to continue play. 8-2. They're trying to see if the runner is out at third. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's the first base. Excuse me. It's the now they're calling her out. All right. That does add up because everybody did think they got the tag in time. And I think what ended up ultimately happening there is the home plate ump pretty much just told the base umpire, that's your call because you have the better angle than I do, which is true because where the base umpire is set up behind second, you have the angle of the tag and the foot sliding in, whereas the home plate umpire really doesn't have an angle, and Caldwell gets the strikeout. So a nice little almost mini double play in a way there. Retires the side. St. Rose gets one back. 8-2, bottom 6 coming up. Melissa Calabrese up to bat. Eagles trail by 6, but the bottom of the lineup, it's your time to shine. They got to get something going if they want to get Post back into this game. And it's got to start with Calabrese, who swings at that one and count quickly 0-2. The reason I say that is because, again, the bottom of the lineup, and I don't like to harp on things too much, but it's important to note with only 6 outs to play with in a 6-run game that the bottom 5 batters for Post have gone a combined 0 for 10 so far, whereas the top of the lineup has the 4 hits that Post has so far. 5 hits that Post has so far. So if the Eagle offense can't get going with the bottom of the lineup, it would signal, honestly, the end of the day for them because these next 5 batters are all at the bottom of the order. Next 4 batters are, which would send them into the 7th then with 1 out before they get to the people who have gotten hits in this game. Calabrese goes down swinging for the 3rd time today. Now Bailey Dickinson coming to the plate. The Eagles, if you joined us in Game 2 against Chestnut Hill, trailed 10-4 going into the 7th inning, the proverbial 9th inning of softball, and nearly completed a 6-run comeback. Jenny Raquelme came to the dish with the bases loaded and with 2nd and 3rd, and flew out deep to left field. We all thought that it was gone off the bat. But it was all for naught at the end of the day as Chestnut Hill and Post split that doubleheader. Dickinson lines that one towards us, coming and charging in to try and grab that was Higgins. She can't grab it. Dickinson into first with a single. And now Post with 1 on, 1 out. And that's what I was talking about. The bottom of the lineup needs to produce. They finally get a hit from the bottom 5. And it's from Bailey Dickinson. So now can her sister Brooke Dickinson keep the good times rolling for Post and get them into the position where you now have the top of the lineup coming up. And again, we're also kind of on a home run watch for Lily Tomasello because one more would tie the single season record. I also just realized I asked her for a home run again today, and she did it once more. That's the 2nd straight game now where before the game I've yelled down to her during warm-ups, Lily, I want a home run today. And she's told me no both times, and then both times has ended up doing it. I'm not going to take full credit. She has to hit the ball. I just say things. It's in there for a strike to Dickinson. Pinch runner, Brianna Hines now at first base for Bailey Dickinson, who was listed as the DP in today's game. Pitch is in there for strike 3. Sheeran gets her looking. 2 down now for Carly Peruso, which means the top of the lineup, if Peruso is retired here, will come up in the top of the inning. And that means we are now at the point where Tomasello will get one more at bat. So Tomasello, and she's also got 2-3 at bats in her in game 2, unless she sat for some reason, but she hasn't sat a game all year, so I don't see why she would. Has a chance then to potentially tie the single season record for most home runs at 9. Hitting the air towards us in right field. Charging on to get it in foul territory as Higgins side retires. So we head to the 7th inning. Post trails 8-2. Frazee up to the dish for Marin Frazee in the 7th inning. Eagles trail 8-2. Caldwell has to try and get out of this inning unscathed and then hope that the Eagles have maybe another 6-run rally in them like they did against Chestnut Hill to steal game 1. And they'll start with the top of their lineup, who, facing Sheeran, in their last few at-bats have really lit a charge into the ball. It feels like the top 4 of this order have really solved Sheeran, especially Tomasello and DeAngelis, with the way they've cranked their last 2 at-bats. As this ball is cranked into center field by Frazee, she's on again. She's 3 for 3 on the day. Spread the wealth around if you're St. Rose. 7 different hitters have gotten hits, but 4 different batters have multi-hit games right now. Muller, the big RBI girl right now, with 3 leading the way, and then Frazee and Dieter with 2 each. That one's low for a ball, 1-0. Caldwell at 107 pitches. Again, because it's softball, it's a little bit easier to throw a lot more pitches. That one's fouled off to the right side of home. I can see into the difference between the 2 dugouts right now is kind of funny. You've got St. Rose all in their long parkas, and then it looks like huddled for warmth on the Eagles bench are all their bench players over towards the home plate. They're wearing some jackets, but I see everybody kind of like nuzzled close together to stay warm. That one's hit deep in the air to left field, and that one's out of here. Dieter, have yourself a day. Alexandra Dieter with a 2-run home run, taking her time coming around the bases. 10-2 ball game. Now, I mentioned the 8-run mercy rule. It doesn't apply now because we're in the 7th inning. So we will play out the 7th inning no matter what, because in those cases where if it's the 5th, 6th, or when it's the 6th or 7th, or even the 5th, technically speaking, and it's an 8-run game, the home team does have to get their last ups. So no matter what, Post will bat in the bottom half of the inning. They would just trail by 8 now instead of 6. Dieter now on the day, 3 for 4 with 4 RBIs, 2 runs scored. So she's leading the way for the team. Muller at the bottom of the lineup, 3 RBIs on 2 hits. As this one's lit in the left field, Rickard Dooley makes the grab for the first out of the inning. Yeah, so like I said, a very stark comparison from top to the bottom of the lineups, which is interesting. You know, you expect your top of the lineup hitters to get on base and manufacture hits. And Post's side has done that. But St. Rose's has only got 4 hits, and 3 of them have all come from Higgins, Bland with another one. It's just kind of interesting to see that. It's been the bottom of the lineup for them, producing heavily. Caldwell now delivers low for a ball. 2-0 the count. Game 2 about 30 minutes after this one. It's 3:35. On the website, we always put them 2 hours apart, so we had it scheduled for 4 o'clock. Probably be about 4:15, 4:30, depending on when this... Oh, not 4:30, excuse me. Unless this game goes way longer. We're probably looking at, I would say, a 4:15 start at this rate. Swung on and missed. Count 2-2. Wind has thankfully been very cooperative today, as that one's in there for strike 3. It's been very cooperative to the point where it's not super windy and awful. It could be a lot worse right now. It could be lightly raining. It could be very windy, but we're grateful that it's just kind of cold. It's 44 and cloudy, but nothing else. No winds, no rain. We'll take this over some of the days we've had with that either rain or wind or both. If you watched the St. Thomas Aquinas Post men's lacrosse game earlier this year when Post had that historic victory, it was a awful, awful day of weather then. And it was about the same temperature, but everybody at halftime of that game was fleeing to their cars to try and warm up for the 10 minutes of reprieve that they had before having to come out for the final 30 of that one. And there's no running clock in men's lacrosse either, like there is in women's in a 10-plus goal game. That was strike 3 there to Caldwell. It looked down for a second. It seemed like that took a minute for the Post players to come off the field. So we head to the bottom of the 7th. Post is going to need 9 runs to win, 8 to tie. We'll be right back. Back here with the top of the lineup, Rickard Dooley on the ground. First pitch swinging. Chops it over to Schaub. Emma Schaub playing second base. Rickard Dooley retired. On deck is Tomasello. Home run watch in the making right now. But DeAngelis, who just narrowly missed a home run with her double in her last at-bat, up to the dish. It was to dead center field off of just about the yellow, which we saw come down a couple innings ago on Rickard Dooley's crash into the wall. That's the first time. It's, surprisingly enough, when Rick Cardulli hit the wall a couple innings ago, that was the first time we saw somebody actually knock down the wall like that, as DeAngelis knocks that one into left field. She's on for Lily Tomasello, who, with one swing of the bat, could make it a 10-4 game, but she could also tie program history. Tomasello entered the game with 7 home runs, and she narrowly missed having a home run in her second at bat. It went to dead center and was caught. Tomasello, 3-time overall CACC honor roll recipient for softball this spring, and right now she's on pace to potentially get herself another one. That was a very slow pitch from Sheeran right there, but Tomasello wasn't looking to swing on it, and it was just in there for a strike. So 1-0 the count now, as that one's outside for a ball. The 1-1. And that one goes off of Sheeran. That's going to be an unfortunate single for Sheeran to give up. But for Tomasello, it's her second hit of the day. Caitlin DeAngelis, how about her? 3 for 4 on the day. 1 run scored. And now bring Juliana Sakala to the plate, who's got 1 hit. Again, this top of the post lineup, 7 hits. The other 5 just 1. And it was Dickinson last inning, Bailey Dickinson. They're checking to see if Sheeran's okay. She's all good. So the top of the Eagle lineup, I got the hiccups. Top of the lineup continuing to produce for Post here in game number 1, but a comeback is only going to work if all 9 hitters can really get into a groove with 2 outs to go. Like we saw them do a few weeks ago. It's only been a week. Feels like weeks ago, though. That one's lined on the ground, and that's an unfortunate way for the game to end. Sakala, that was a great play at first base by Smith to pick that one right on the ground, but it was caught in the air, and Tomasello, she just got her out there at first. So that's how the cookie crumbles. The ball game ends. St. Rose wins game 1 10-2. Over Post. We'll be back with game 2 in about 30 minutes from now. But for now, we're going to get off air, warm up a little. Post loses game 1 10-2. See you for game 2 in a little while.